All right, it is time for the weather model discussion here for Thursday, April the 11th. How's it going, everyone? William Cole here in the Storm Studio. Again, this is when we like to take you behind the scenes, not so much looking at the pretty TV graphics we use throughout the day, but really sifting through some of the raw data and again, kind of giving you a behind the scenes look at how we're piecing together the forecast of the day. We don't put this on our channel. Again, if you're seeing this on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, feel free to give it a like. Even feel free to leave a comment below if needed. Again, not for everyone. Not everyone's interested in this aspect of the weather. But again, a lot of folks out there do like this as well. We've got a lot to talk about today, even though the weather today, really beautiful out there. A lot of bright sunshine. You're seeing a live shot there from our Reunion Tower cam, obviously looking at downtown Dallas. Not a cloud in the sky. There will be some increase in cloud cover heading into the weekend, but we've got a pretty decent warm-up and pretty quiet weather heading into the weekend. But next week appears to be stormy. Not each and every day, but we're going to have a couple opportunities, at least two the way it looks, of some rainstorms. And again, maybe even a little bit of severe weather the way it looks next week as well. Let's go and dive into this. And even though I say we don't use our pretty TV graphics, sometimes we start with some of these, again, just to kind of show you the temperatures as well. We're doing this right around 340, again, on this Thursday, April 11th. But again, you can see 60s in the north, right? 68 to 69, right around 73. We're at our daytime high so far at DFW. Not impossible. We still bounce to 74, maybe even 75. Again, we still got about an hour left that we could do that. But again, really just a good looking afternoon. The only drawback, and I'm going to show one more graphic and we'll look at this, is the wind gusts today. Not that it's been overly gusty, right? Yesterday evening, we had wind gusts up to 40, in fact, in excess of 40 miles per hour. And these are just the top five from this afternoon. But again, McKinney and Denton both with the 28 mile per hour gust. Again, you see other locations like Terrell, even the big airport DFW, with a 27 mile per hour gust. So this isn't crazy. I mean, for North Texas, we get it. This is not crazy, but it has been breezy, and this is a northerly wind, so it's put a bit of an edge on the temperatures as we've gone through the afternoon, right? But the winds, once we get to sunset, the winds will diminish, and simply put, for tomorrow, Friday, the winds remain fairly light, but the winds do begin to come back heading into the weekend, all ahead of a big upper-level storm system that will be approaching by the time we get to Monday. Again, we'll talk about that coming up. But let's go and dive into the raw data here. And again, we'll kind of sift through this for a few minutes. We like to start with the 500 millibar chart, right? This is taking an overview of the entire nation. And really two things we're taking from this. One, we're looking for any troughs, right? Dips in the jet stream. That's typically where the active weather is, or cooler weather, or in the winter, colder weather. And we're also looking for ridges, right, where the jet stream kind of looks like a bump or an inverted U, and that's where typically the quieter weather is, typically the milder weather, and in fact, we have both of those going on. So the storm system that, of course, brought us the active weather earlier in the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with the storms and rain and clouds and all of that, you can see the big dip, right, from really the Wisconsin area all the way down into the deep south, big long wave trough. And so that continues to push off to the east. That's pushing away from us here in North Texas. Of course, it's taking all the active weather with it. It's been a pretty active weather day along the eastern seaboard. But where our weather's coming from, typically the west or the northwest, look what we have out there. Can you see the big ridge in place out there? So that's what's going to be moving in basically right now all the way through the weekend. And again, that's going to give us some quieter weather. Okay, so we'll definitely be enjoying that all before, again, our next upper-level storm system truly begins to affect our weather as we get into this upcoming Monday. Just a quick peek here, again, at the satellite radar review. First of all, in the southern plains, the Texas area, again, Oklahoma, Kansas, again, New Mexico, quiet, right? I mean, not even a cloud in the sky, beautiful weather showing up. Obviously, ahead and near that storm trough, that's where the active weather is, the Florida Peninsula up the Carolina coast. And again, you can even see up across parts of the Midwest, Ohio, even back over into parts of West Virginia. As we look at our severe weather outlook, and we'll walk you through this as well. Of course, this time of year, we always like to look at these all the way through spring, each and every day, to make sure there's nothing showing up for us locally here in North Texas. Well, today there's not, right, Sunny? No risk of any severe weather today. But again, looking off to the east, right, where that trough is going to be moving through, you have a marginal level 1, you have a slight level 2, and we even have an enhanced level 3 opportunity from eastern Ohio, parts of West Virginia, again, all the way up into parts of PA. And there's even an opportunity of some tornadic activity up in that area. So again, wind, hail, and again, even tornadoes possible, again, off to our east. And again, there's even been a little severe weather reported down in the Florida Peninsula as we've gone through the day as well. We're just going to walk you through the next couple of days from the Storm Prediction Center, just their outlook, what they're thinking. Tomorrow, much quieter around the country. In fact, the only real opportunity of potentially some severe weather, marginal risk, you can see highlighted in the darker green, would be from parts of Nevada all the way up into parts of Idaho, maybe far eastern Oregon. Marginal risk typically means the possibility, not even the guarantee, of a severe storm or two. Marginal means pretty isolated to widely scattered to spotty activity, right? They're not expecting a lot of warnings, but a warning can't be ruled out. Kind of the way to look at that, right? So again, not impossible up across that part of the country. Day 3, which would be Saturday, nothing, right? I mean, where you see the very light green, that means general thunderstorm activity, just something convective that bubbles up, right? But not like an organized severe weather situation. I mean, we're totally quieted. For April, that's pretty rare, right? Most days in April, there's some type of severe weather risk somewhere in the country. But again, Saturday, very quiet, nothing going on. So from there, we're going to jump. So day 1, day 2, day 3 from their outlooks, it's kind of more of a forecast, quote unquote, but then they also take you out several additional days, in fact, 8 additional days. And these are more kind of outlooks, right? Saying, hey, we kind of think in this general area, there could be something going on, right? So it's kind of less matter of fact, and it's a little more broad. And there's really only 2 categories. You have kind of a lower end, which you could call slight, or you have more of kind of a medium level, which you could call enhanced, okay? So we'll look at it the next couple of days, okay? So day 4, again, heading into Sunday, potential too low, right? Nothing really predictable at that point. Heading into Monday, well, what's this here? Again, Monday, the day we're anticipating our next upper level storm system coming out. Well, they've drawn a little something on, right? They've drawn a 15% or a 30% opportunity, slight or enhanced risk. And again, North Texas is included in that, the opportunity of severe weather. Again, several days out, just kind of the outlook. But again, the Storm Prediction Center beginning to kind of hone in on that next upper level storm system as well, okay? So we'll take that, and again, we'll run with it kind of with the rest of the data that we're going to look through. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump over to the model data now. Okay, so what we've been looking at currently is kind of the analysis of what's going on, and then maybe what the Storm Prediction Center is thinking in the back of their mind as we go forward in time as well. Right now, we're kind of beginning to piece the forecast together. I'm going to change the zoom on this. I'm going to use this zoom for the model data. Might make it look a little bit better. I don't know that that really did. Oh, you know what? It's this one here they got. Here we go. That's what I'm trying to do. Again, just kind of zooms it in so you can see it a little bit better. And so we're using the same set of data that we started with, right? The 500 millibar chart, looking around the country. Again, we're looking for troughs, we're looking for ridges, and we're looking for areas of spin. But instead of the analysis of where we are now, this is going to take us out over the next 10 days using the European model. Okay? I've had people ask before why we always use the European and always talk about it, not the American GFS. And the main reason is the Euro is just the highest performing model, right? I mean, they rank all the different models. Euro outperforms everything. The GFS, we love all things INSEPS and National Weather Service, but the truth of the matter is the GFS is honestly at the bottom of the list, and at times the bottom, the last ranked model as far as performance goes. So we look at it, but we don't put a lot of faith in the GFS, only in certain situations. Okay, so let's go to walk you through this here. And again, we'll take you out as we go forward in time. In fact, let me go and back this up one, because some of the newest data is just now coming in. So I'm going to take you back one model run. Okay, so this is basically where we're starting. We're seeing the storm trough that did bring us the active weather. Again, you can see it. Again, kind of the colors embedded within that, that's areas of spin or vorticity. So this one has a little color coding to it where the other one didn't, right? So it makes it easier to see these troughs or areas of low pressure move in, okay? So one trough pulling away. Again, there's the big ridge for the weekend. All of that, again, looks great. No weather complications there. But again, look what's coming down the California coast. Pretty significant storm system. And it begins to come out as we get into late weekend, into the early part of next week. And look at the track of that. Right into the southern plains. And again, we talked about this yesterday. It's ejecting out. See how it's kind of leaning back as a negative tilt trough. That doesn't always guarantee severe weather. Again, we talked about all this yesterday, but if you see a negative tilt trough in the spring, catches your eye, and again, from there, you definitely dial through the rest of the parameters. They can be more favorable for severe weather. In this situation, along with several other parameters, this will be favorable for severe weather. The question for us in North Texas, not even as much of the parameters, but it's going to be the exact track. Does this skew further to the north up into Oklahoma and into Kansas? And we basically just have a dry line coming down, and we're essentially waiting on stuff to maybe fire along the dry line. Or is the track further to the south, the area of low pressure comes further to the south, the cold front and dry line where they intersect, the triple point, is closer to us, and we would have the potential maybe for more in the way of active weather, okay? So the exact track, and it's too early to lock it in, right? I mean, we know it's coming through the southern plains. I mean, we think that's a lock. But again, is it going to be up in Oklahoma? Is it going to come right across North Texas? Again, that kind of specific information. Again, still a little too early to make that call. Right now, it's skewing a little further south. Yesterday, it was a little further north, and overnight, the very early morning run, and now even this afternoon, it is skewing a little further south, which, again, for us in North Texas, would make rain and storms a little more favorable. In fact, I've even upped my rain probability from a 30 to a 40% opportunity, okay? So that's in and out for Monday. That's basically, it's a one-day deal. Either we get a hit of severe weather or we may get nothing. Again, right now we're making that determination over the next few days. But behind it, look what's coming down through the Intermountain West. It's another storm trough, right? But it's a slow mover. In fact, it's moving slower today than it was yesterday. That's eventually going to come out. But it's not so much even we have to wait until it comes out. It's going to send, just like this last storm system where it was stalled out in the desert southwest, it sends little lobes of energy out and it begins to give us active weather even before it arrives. So that storm system, the secondary one that's going to be coming out, I think as we go through the end of next week, right now the way it looks, maybe Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 3 days in a row, we may have an opportunity of active weather. Typically in those situations, just like what we saw day one and sometimes day two, you kind of have an opportunity of active weather, meaning severe weather. And then, if it persists like a day three, like for example, this last Wednesday would have been day three with that storm system. I mean, it's cloudy, it's cool, the atmosphere is worked over, and there's typically not a lot of instability left, okay? So when you get in those situations, you can normally get 1 or 2 hits of severe weather, but it's hard, again, if it's a prolonged multi-day deal to continue to get severe weather. Again, it's cloudy, it's cool, there's nothing left. There's still moisture for rain, some general thunder, right? But it may be kind of similar to what we saw again earlier this week. We'll see how it plays out, okay? And that'll take us all the way through day 10. I mean, right there, that is the end of this model run. That is day 10. But again, you can see, if you look carefully back off to the northwest, there's several more storm systems lined up, right? The ones kind of in northwestern Canada we're not as concerned about. Those will skew off to the east. But again, I can count out in the Pacific, even up towards the Alaska area, right? I mean, there's 2 more. We don't know the exact track of those yet. Obviously, the data ends there. But again, as we go deeper into April, those more than likely will be swinging out somewhere through the plains this time of year. So the bottom line, things look active. Let's go and look at our 850 millibar chart. This is always a secondary thing we like to look at. And again, we're just looking for air mass movement, right? Each of those systems will at least pose an opportunity of a cold front coming through. Again, we're not anticipating, and when I say cold front, this time of year, truly it's a cool front, right? But there's technically no such thing as a cool front. I like the term cool front, but every time we use it, even when we use it on air, we typically get an email from someone out there saying there's no such thing as a cool front. We get it, but it's easy to kind of specify, right? A cold front is really when you're getting colder air in, like through the winter or through the fall. And a lot of folks understand that if you say cool front, there's not a big change of air mass. But technically, that's not a thing, so we won't even use that term. But anyway, so that's what we're truly looking for, right? Quote unquote cool fronts. We're not anticipating anything cold. Let me go and back this up again, just one run here. And as we go forward in time, you're going to see a nice warm up again through the weekend. And these are not surface temperatures. These are temperatures just above the surface, right? So again, we're actually truly seeing the movement of any air mass, okay? It's easier to see at this level, again, just off the surface, okay? But for the weekend, I mean, there it is. I mean, temperatures go up early next week, temperatures go up, and then truly we'll be watching for that storm to come out. There it is right there. And again, it's got a weak, again, quote unquote, cool front with it. You can see our temperatures moderate some, really not much at all, right? And then as we're watching that next storm system coming in from the Pacific, you see a little bit more in the way of blue, right? I know that sounds kind of elementary, but obviously that's some cooler air. And again, as that eventually comes through, again, it may bring us, again, a slight cool down by the end of the 12-day. You can see it right there. And again, for the northern tier, talking about like the Dakotas over through maybe the Minnesota area, I mean, there's some darker blue, right? I mean, there's a little pocket of Canadian air. That Canadian air, it would really have almost an impossible time trying to come this far south because of the sun angle, right? It warms and it modifies just so easily this time of year. But again, it's a pretty decent pocket off to the north. So that'll give us a cool front, probably knocking us maybe back into the 60s. We'll look at the numbers on this coming up. But again, the bottom line is we're basically warming up over the next 10 days. There's maybe one possibility of temperatures slightly trending down. It's nothing significant. So again, as far as temperatures go, there's really not much here other than the fact there's a few days we may trend well above normal. And again, we'll take a look at those numbers coming up. Okay. From there, we don't really need to look at the high res data for today. I mean, future radar, there's nothing going on, right? I mean, it's sunny, it's quiet. I mean, we're good to go heading into the weekend. Okay. So we're going to come back to the global model. In fact, we're just going to continue with the global model here with the Euro, and we're going to look at precipitation. Okay. And I always kind of put this asterisk on this, right? Whenever we're looking at precip with a global model, again, the Euro we're using here, for example, it's not a future radar product. This is a 6-hour snapshot of where this specific model thinks precipitation may be and possibly the intensity, right? So it's a signal that it's giving us more or less than, when you're looking at a future radar where it's a little more matter of fact of what it's trying to tell us, okay? So we're just taking signals from this, but I'm going to skip ahead to Monday, okay? So on Monday, now that this is skewing a little bit further south compared to yesterday, you're seeing the opportunity of, especially off to our northwest, and that's basically, again, remember where the Storm Prediction Center highlighted more so, again, northwestern North Texas, almost out of our coverage area, up into Oklahoma, the opportunity of rain and storms, obviously severe weather late on Monday. But notice where the strongest signal is. It's not necessarily up in Oklahoma. They have the opportunity of rain and storms, but the stronger signal is actually kind of out in the big country, closer to our coverage area. Okay, so something to keep our eye on. All right, that activity may try and sweep through the area. It really depends on the setup. If they're supercells coming off of the dry line, sometimes they'll persist, but sometimes they'll kind of fizzle out, as you go through the evening, right? Or you may just have a weakening line of storms. There's not really even a strong signal here for a full line of storms, but it looks like we get an opportunity of a few. And in this situation, again, if they did develop, they would be supercells, okay? So we'll watch that. That takes us through early Tuesday morning. I think Tuesday we're dry. Let's take a look at Wednesday. I've got Wednesday now basically dry too. And then as we get into Thursday, we're watching lobes of energy again from that next upper level storm system coming out. That again is going very slow. But again, look, see these QPF signals? See how dark that green is? So we're getting stronger signals by the end of the week, right? So there's Thursday, there's another round Friday, and then even Saturday before we potentially dry out as we head into Sunday. Okay, so it looks like the end of next week. And again, keep in mind, and I'm sure you obviously realize this, when we're looking out, 7, 8, 9, 10 days, all this is going to change. The next model run, more than likely, it's not going to be completely different. It's still going to have the opportunity of precipitation, more than likely in the same region. But again, geographically, all of this is going to change. So it's just kind of a fluid rolling forecast that far out. But the bottom line is it looks like Monday, the trend is maybe a little more favorable for us to get rain and storms here locally. Anything we see could be severe. And when I say locally, maybe not even as much in the Metroplex, but more so maybe in our western counties. And we'll see if what forms out there is able to hold together and make it into the Metroplex. And then the end of next week, again, definitely looking unsettled, right? The opportunity of rain and storms is going to be in and around the area. Okay, so that's kind of the forecast right now. I want to take you over to the numbers as well. And again, this is based off the Blenda models. Okay, these are highs and lows specifically for Dallas-Fort Worth over the next 10 days. And this is just all the model data. This is something the Weather Service puts together through their kind of computer hub. They call it INCEPS, right? All the Weather Service products that are generated, they're generated through this kind of computer hub center group of people that That's kind of what they are, right? Some of them are meteorologists, some of them aren't, but their job is not so much doing the daily forecast. Their job is creating databases, maybe for lack of a better word, and systems and computer models that can put all of this together and then spit data out. Not even just this, but again, other things, including the GFS model, the HER model, all the other models that they generate, okay? But this is what it's showing, again, for the next 10 days. For tomorrow, 79, you can see we do warm up heading into the weekend, right? Lower to mid 80s. And then take a look at that. By early next week, just behind that other storm system, there's an opportunity by Wednesday, we may be jumping to near 90. There's a couple of days next week with the newest data coming in that our western counties could easily be pushing into the 90s, again, early next week. So we've got a pretty strong warm-up on the way. Keep in mind a typical high, 75 going to 76. So, I mean, we're trending well above normal. And then you can see, remember when we were talking about that next front coming through and where it really kind of looked chillier, well off to the north, right? But there's our trend in temperatures down 75, 73. But again, that's the following weekend. Not this weekend, obviously, but the following weekend. We're talking about 9, 10 days on down the road. In fact, that would be April 20th, April 21st. So obviously well on down the road. But between now and then, I mean, we've got a pretty strong warm-up on the way. And again, we've got at least some opportunities of again, rain and storms on the way as well. Okay, so a little bit of an abbreviated weather model discussion. Like I said, sometimes we try and talk about kind of what's going on now with the high-res data. We just don't have anything, right? We don't have anything as we go through the weekend, which is good, right? We want a nice, quiet weekend, enjoy the weather before we maybe have some active weather heading into next week, all right? So that's where we are, folks. Again, thanks for joining us. Again, we're trying to get back into doing these every day. I mean, we'll do these as much as possible on the really active weather weeks. Again, obviously, we're probably not going to have time to do them, but we will try and do them as much as possible, especially, again, as we roll through spring. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Question, comments, you feel free to leave them below. Feel free to leave a like. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Thursday late afternoon and Thursday evening.